Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Hey, docs, welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, and today I'm bringing on Dr. Kristen Lawrenz from Student Loan Planner. I've had this group on some years ago. It might have been 4 or 5 years ago, and so things have changed, and we needed to have a kind of update show on your student loans. I know it's a point of concern, point of contention, and it's not easy. There's no doubt about it. It's obviously, hopefully, worth the investment in putting you in a position to do well for many years, but you need to have a strategy. And we're going to talk about certain new updates and new programs and strategies to really set it and forget it. Honestly, it was a cost of doing business, just like if you were to, you know, buy a business or start a business. Most entrepreneurs take out pretty big loans to do that. A lot of times, millions of dollars of loans to start businesses or take on debt to do it. And so you ultimately had to take on debt to become a chiropractor, and hopefully it's paying dividends or will, or if you do the right things, it definitely will. And so we talk about the new updates on that, and Kristen brings a lot of great information and updates for you today. So without further ado, here is my interview with Dr. Kristen Lawrenz. All right, welcome to the show, Kristen. I really appreciate your time. It's been a while since we've had your company on our podcast. The podcast is 7.5 years old now. I think it might have been 5 or 6 years ago that Travis was on and talking about student loans. It's always a front of center topic, especially for our chiropractic audience. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, personally, professionally, the company, things like that.
So the company that I work for is called Student Loan Planner, and we do student loan consults for any type of student loan borrower. So we have a lot of physicians, we have a lot of dentists, chiropractors, um, all types of complementary health care professionals, lawyers. So we generally have those types of professionals that we give consults to. So I started working for Student Loan Planner about a year ago, giving consults. I'm actually a practicing chiropractor. So I've
All
been
right.
working as a chiropractor for almost 20 years. I graduated from New York Chiropractic College, which is now Northeast. And yeah, so I've been practicing in Rochester, New York, and I currently work part time doing that. And I also work as a student loan consultant. I had to take out a lot of student loans when I started. So this is kind of uh, something that I love to talk about with, up and coming chiropractors because it is such a huge impact on our lives. So, so yeah, I'm happy to be here today. Thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I graduated chiropractic school about the same time. And it was a little bit friendlier for us. At least I could speak for myself, and I know it's not like that anymore. But for me, I think I was $160,000 to get through chiropractic school. Luckily, I didn't have any undergrad loans, and then I was able to in 2004 lock in at a 2.8. I think it is 2.8 interest rate, and so my full monthly payment from that point on, or actually I was able to lock it in prior to graduating. So once I graduated, my full monthly payment has been about $725 a month. And again, that's
Okay.
the full payment for mine. And so that's obviously pretty digestible. It wasn't necessarily digestible when I first graduated, but it's been digestible for some years now. And obviously having a low interest rate has been beneficial. What's the state of student loans now for chiropractors that have been kind of that last 10 years, 5 year, whatever it's been? What are the amounts you're seeing? Is it 200, 250, 300 for student for chiropractic? What's the interest rate ranges you're seeing? What are some of the details of that?
Yeah, we were lucky, lucky, lucky when we got those I think mine was 2.87%.
Yeah.
Those are no longer. So, most chiropractors that we see have between 200 to 300, but we've seen more.
Mhm.
Um, it's great when we see less than that, but I would say, yeah, 200 to 300 is pretty much the average for debt these days. And the interest rates are running, around 8% currently. They, we're down a little bit to maybe 6% when some of these chiros who are graduating now started.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're high.
Yeah, and that's equating to, obviously it's all ballpark, but if someone were to actually pay their full monthly minimum, it could be, I guess, anywhere from 2,500 to $3,500, give or take a month. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. If you wanted to pay, if you wanted to do a standard 10-year plan, it would absolutely pay that much. If you wanted to do more of an extended or graduated type plan that kind of graduates up a little bit, we can get up to 30 years or so if
Yeah.
our borrowers consolidate. Yeah, though that would be a little bit less. So that would be maybe around 1500, but it's still that's hard for, beginning chiropractors to make that much, especially if you have an associate job and you're making
Mhm.
50 or 60 in some parts of the country. So, there's two different ways to pay back your loans. You can either pay that fixed, amount every single month, or you can do more of an income driven repayment plan,
Yeah.
which we'll talk a little bit about, I think. Those are generally much better for this group of folks who are starting out with an income around 50,000, 60,000, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, when we have professionals that are starting out more at 100,000, that's a little bit more palatable and they can kind of handle that bigger monthly payment. But the income driven plans are great for people who have that higher debt to income ratio, like chiropractors do usually.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's dive into that income driven. I believe it's called the save plan, right? And that's kind of where people have thrown around the tax bomb word at the end and different things like that. Is that income driven plan is the save, which is an acronym, I guess, right?
Yep. It's Biden's new plan that's stands for Save for a Valuable Education. And that's the acronym SAVE that we
Okay.
refer to it as. So there's a couple different income driven plans. There has been since 2009. Actually, I got on an income driven plan when we first got out of school because I was one of those people who was like, oh my gosh, I cannot make this payment. I was making a very low amount as an associate.
Yeah.
And so there have been plans called the income-based repayment plan. That's
Yeah.
also an income-driven plan. And there's been other plans called the pay plan, the income contingent plan. But the big one for the past few years has been the save plan. And the Biden administration made it really favorable for student loan borrowers. So they had a lower amount of discretionary income, like a percentage that you paid that was lower than some of the other income driven plans. They also had a great interest subsidy where if you made a payment that isn't going to cover your interest for the month, which can happen pretty easily for someone who has 200 or $300,000, the rest of that monthly payment would be waived that you didn't make instead of capitalized, which it would be on some of these other income driven plans. So some folks saw these older income driven plans, their loans just balloon up
Yeah.
because they weren't able to make that monthly payment. It was basically they're just paying a little bit of interest on it, and then the interest would capitalize each month, and their loan would just grow and grow and grow. So the save plan kind of put a stop to that. If you weren't able to make that monthly payment, that minimum monthly payment based on your income, then basically the rest of that amount just got forgiven and not capitalized. So people's loan amounts were staying the same, which was a huge, win for student loan borrowers. So yeah, people have been on the save plan for a few years and have been very happy on it.
Mhm.
And then, there's been some changes with the income driven plans lately. So there's definitely some changes to the save plan. So we can talk about that when you're ready too.
Okay, and so on the save plan, is it you make your minimum payment that's based off income, so it's going to be a lot less than what your full minimum payment would be, and then you do that for, is it 25 years?
Yeah.
And that
For
could,
most borrowers, yeah.
yeah, so that income minimum could increase if your income goes up. Is there a certain amount, like if we got a chiropractor that's, doing well for themselves and they're making 200,000 a year, are they just not going to qualify for that anymore essentially?
They will qualify, But the one problem with the SAVE plan is that there's no cap on it. So they would still qualify, but their payment would go up in proportion to their income. Where
Yeah.
some of the other income is specifically the income-based repayment plan has a cap. So sometimes when we get folks into it that are, um, have a lower income to start and then ramp way up, there is a cap on that. So
Yeah.
let's say their cap is around 2,000. It's based on your standard repayment plan of 10 years. That's your cap. So they may be paying for, 10 years at a lower amount than that, and then they
Yeah.
hit that cap and they get to stay at that cap instead of going above that. So that was
Mhm.
kind of the one drawback about SAVE is that there wasn't a cap. So for people who, got into these really high income levels, that was tough because then their payment's gonna be way
Well
more than
well, I guess, yeah, I guess tough on one end, but good on the other that they're actually doing very well. And
true.
I've had a lot of, a lot of my, it's fun now to be 20 years out and see a lot of my classmates I graduated with. And, a handful of us have been fortunate to do pretty well. And I've had some where, they've done real well and they just paid the thing off, and it
Mhm.
was part of what they wanted to do. And so if a chiropractor is making, 250 a year take home income, and maybe there's spousal income as well. Are you seeing some of these chiropractors actually decide to just let's pay off what we got to pay off. Let's put 10,000 a month on it, or like if maybe they came into a big payday of $40,000 of something, whatever. Maybe they sold something, invested in something, and decided to pay off big chunks at a time. Are you still seeing younger DCs do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where our company comes in because we kind of weigh the benefits of should we put that extra money towards retirement or some other kind of financial goal that we have, or should we pay off the student loans? So there's always kind of that, weighting those two options. But yeah, some people just feel really emotionally strong about I just want to pay it off. I want to pay off all my debt,
Mm.
whichever kind of debt it is. And some people kind of take the long road with it where they
Yeah.
pay the minimum amount they can and put the rest towards their other life goals.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been transparent about it. I haven't paid mine off completely. There's been a handful of times where I probably could have just done that, but there's a different decision making process when you're at a 2.8%. I was like, I'd rather just
Yeah.
invest money, and just pay off. And there's been times where I put extra on it, and so it's down to a pretty nice number that I'm
Mhm.
comfortable with psychologically. So I do think there is the psychological component. And speaking of that psychological component of it, I think the one thing I want to make sure chiropractors don't fall into the trap of is if they are in one of these, say, safe plans, is don't hinder your financial growth in pay because you're worried of what you'd have to pay. Like, oh, I don't want to make 200,000 a year because I don't have to pay my
Right.
student loans more. Don't fall into that that trap. There, as you said, you could work with them to figure out good balances, and depending on what they think of psychologically of paying down debt or investing and things like that, there's a lot of options. It sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. We always want you to make more money. We'll figure it out on the other end.
Yeah, that's like paying taxes, right? It's like it
Right.
sucks when you have a big tax bill, but it means you made some good money, so that's positive, right? Let's take a break from today's episode and announce our first sponsor. This is going to be Propel Marketing and Design. I've known Darcy Sullivan for years. We've worked hand in hand on my websites. I don't trust anybody else to do the search engine optimization. She does a great job. There's so much to it. A lot of the lingo and the words are beyond my comprehension, but it's just amazing work that she does. And if you're really going to get results with Google, you have to make sure your website is SEO optimized. And I really don't want you doing it yourself as a chiropractor. So you just have to have this type of stuff done. And if you're looking to get more organic online traffic that pulls in new patients, Propel Marketing and Design is currently offering chiropractors who listen to this podcast a free SEO website review. The free review will help you uncover methods that will improve your website and boost your search engine visibility. Head over to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor and schedule your free SEO website review. You won't regret it. She gets great results. Your website needs this. Your search results need this. Head on over there to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor to get your free SEO website review. Okay. I guess one of the questions I also had was I heard that the save plan is on hold. What's the reasoning for that? What's the plan on that?
So there have been a few lawsuits over the years against the SAVE plan, um, mostly coming from different states that are part of the servicers being a big part of the state. Mohila
Yeah.
is one of them. They are located in Missouri. Their state is not happy that there's some kind of plan that's really helping borrowers and, limiting the amount that people pay. So this current lawsuit against Save is through the federal courts, and it's put everything on hold. So this is the one that kind of took really
Okay.
well, and the servicers are all kind of scrambling, like, well, we don't know what to do. We kind of have to put everything on hold in terms of letting people apply for these income driven plans, consolidating their loans, that kind of thing. So everything as far as through the servicers processing is all on hold for all that. So yeah, we're waiting until we've heard some talk about October 24th. There's supposed to be a
Mhm.
hearing in the Eighth Circuit that's supposed to give us a little bit more information about where the save plan's going. And hopefully, we'll get a little bit of clarity to help
Yeah.
folks figure this whole time out. It may end up getting kicked to the Supreme Court. In that case, this may get pushed back until June. So for right now, borrowers who are on Save are not paying anything. They're in forbearance, but this time is not also counting towards their forgiveness timeline. So
Mhm.
let's say you have to pay for, 25 years. This is everything is on hold. You're not getting credit for this time at all. And this is really affecting people who are more on public service loan forgiveness, which
Yeah.
is a 10-year forgiveness plan. So these folks are having everything on hold and they're not getting credit for these 10 years. I currently have a client that's a teacher
Mhm.
who has Parent Plus loans. So she's taking them out for her kids
Yeah.
and she wants to retire
Mhm.
like today. But unfortunately she can. None of these months are counting toward her public service. So she's waiting. I think she needs 3 more months. So she's unfortunately having to wait until this is all decided to kind of go on with her life. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's holding up quite a bit right now.
Yeah, I think like I try to see both sides, but I think I'm in that Gen X, 44 years old, and I've tried to look at it a lot of different angles. I do know that not that $160,000 is anything to laugh at that I had to pay for chiropractic school, but I do know I have a low interest rate. I do know I have a digestible amount. So I do appreciate that I'm in a different scenario. But I do get where some people are like, well, on the save plan, if you're not even making the minimum of the income based and you're not getting interest accrued, who obviously is footing that bill, right? Like
Mhm.
who's paying that? Are the I'm not an economics expert either, but these loan companies in Missouri or whatever, are they getting impacted financially because now they have not enough money coming in because people are just deciding not to pay even the minimum of what they are supposed to be paying. I see where those dominoes typically in banking can fall. Or obviously you got a lot of people that are in trades and didn't go to college and then, their tax dollars are doing it. So I see that, but I know that there's a huge problem when chiropractic school is $300,000, $250,000. Interest rates are 8%. Like that's just unimaginable in a very tough situation, obviously. And so hopefully they can get that figured out. And maybe we'll have to do an update once we do get some details on that. But I'm assuming you're able to talk these chiropractors through some of the different options, whether, if there is not the save plan currently. There is the other income-based one, but that's where the interest does accumulate. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Right now we're down to people can apply for the income based repayment plan
Yep.
or the save plan technically. Um, but the servicers have all shut down their online applications. So you'd have to send in a paper application.
Right.
And then basically we've heard they're just sitting. on the servicers' desks there. That nothing's getting processed at all. So
Hmm.
people are really in a limbo. There's not much that's happening right now. So they can't really switch their plans right now. But yep, after this October 24th date, hopefully we'll know a little bit more about which plans are available to folks and
Yeah.
um, what they can do with that.
No,
Yeah.
that'll be good, obviously. Let's take a short break for one of our great sponsors, TrackStat. It is a new type of software plugin for your EHR that combines patient communication, marketing, automation, and statistics with patient and employee tracking. Built by chiropractors for chiropractors, it shows your team what to focus on each day. See patient visit habits, missing information, unpaid bills, insurance collection visit average, and more. Great visibility of data so you can focus on filling your office with your best patients. When you can see what your staff and patients are doing or not doing and take action accordingly, your profits naturally grow. Take TrackStat for a test drive in your office with our free trial. Not a techie, no problem, we can help. To get started on your free trial, visit trackstat.org and watch the demo. That is trackstat.org. And then the Fresh Start program you mentioned pre recording. What are the details of that?
So the Biden administration had also they're trying to kind of rectify some of these wrongs that have been made over the past 20 years or longer with some of these income driven plans.
Mm,
And one of these things was the Fresh Start program. And basically, this was a program to allow borrowers who were in default. And you go into default when you haven't made a loan payment in 9 months.
mhm,
So after 9 months, they put you into default, and it's obviously ruins your credit score, your credit history, and you have a lot of fees that accumulate with default and trying to get out of default. It's not easy to do. So part of this whole thing to try to get everyone on equal footing here is this Fresh Start program. It expires September 30th. And basically, what it is just a way to get out of default
mm,
easily. So you can go online. I can give you it's studentaid.gov is where you do all of your student loan processing.
right.
But you go onto studentaid.gov, you go to the Fresh Start page, and you basically easily can get out of your default and onto a repayment plan and without all of these hindrances and fees and consequences that there were before. So it's just allowing
Mm,
folks to kind of, step it up, take responsibility for their loans and start fresh again. So that is one thing that does end September 30th. So if you're in that situation, it would be very prudent to try
Yeah.
to get out of
I'll
it.
have to I'll have to post in the Facebook group when we hang up because this won't come out before the end of that
Oh,
deadline.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we'll do that, and then I'll get that post out there. And then, I just want to like, let's say everything goes back to normal with the save plan, and that's opened, and everything's going there, or the income based one, and obviously the at the end of the period, you're forgiven the amount. Let's say it's just 25 years from now, but you have the tax liability on that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's what we call the tax bomb.
Yeah.
So when people hear about the tax bomb, that's what that is. So you get your loan canceled, but then you may have to pay taxes on that.
Mhm.
So for now, there is a law that's gone into effect that expires at the end of 2025 that says there is no tax bomb. So right now, the federal government is not taxing people on their loan forgiveness. So again, that's going to expire at the end of next year. So that may be something that is pushed back. So maybe for the 5 years after that, we won't have to pay taxes on our forgiven loans. There's no way to know right
Yeah.
now, but yeah, that's where that tax bomb comes in. Some states are still taxing people on their forgiven loan amount.
Yeah.
Some people will have state taxes. And, if the federal one comes back, that's obviously based on your income. So it's an income tax. That canceled loan is, let's say it's 100,000. Basically that 100,000 is added to your income.
Yeah.
So that tax could be, depending on what tax bracket you're in, anywhere from, 15% to 35% of your income. So it could be significant for people, especially
Mhm.
folks who are getting $200,000 forgiven,
Yeah.
something like that. It's a
But
big number.
I guess paying that amount on the tax bomb is a lot better than paying your student loans.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so we always encourage people to save for that. We
yeah.
have, a whole conversation about, let's put this money into, a certain account to save for that tax bomb in case it happens. And if it doesn't, then you have a bonus
Yeah.
$40,000 that
Yeah.
you have
So
sitting
someone
around.
that graduated 5 years ago and been on this maybe in 20 years, they would have to hope that there's a forgiveness without the tax bomb. And so even though if there's a tax bomb no tax bomb now or in 2 years from now, that could change in 20 years for them.
Yeah, everything will change in 20
Yeah.
years. It's unbelievable how much has changed in the 1 year that I've worked for this company. So,
Or, I mean, think about what's changed in the 20 years since you and I graduated, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah, we have no idea where student loans are going,
yeah,
so we'll
yeah,
see. But the truth is that both Republicans and Democrats want an income-driven plan. They both agree that this is needed. Our debt is just the student debt in this country is out of control. So they both agree on that. It's just coming to a plan that they agree on that
yeah.
seems fair for all parties involved.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part, but at least they agree on something. That's a good start.
Yeah.
Let's say a chiropractor's got $250,000 in student loan debt. They're on this SAVE program or one of these income-based. Does this impact their ability to get a home loan or a business loan? I mean, I guess if you have debt on the books, your debt to income ratio is always going to impact your ability to afford a home and then get a certain level of a loan. Aware of that. Is there any other things that's a problem?
So in this case, actually doing an income-driven repayment plan is better than doing, a fixed plan, because what they look at the mortgage lenders, they look at your monthly payment.
Yep.
So if your monthly payment is lower, you have
Uh,
more of an ability to get a higher mortgage, or you have a better ability to get a business loan. So yeah, in this case, we tell folks who are in that situation who are either buying a practice or wanting to start their own. Generally, the income driven plans are better for them because the monthly payment is going to be less.
that's good. That makes sense. Let's take a short break from today's episode to tell you about the best decision I've made in my clinic in the last 10 years, and that has been adding shockwave therapy to our clinic. The outcomes have been really impressive. Certain conditions we were struggling with in the past, we're now seeing results with the shockwave therapy for that. And second of all, the ROI has been really good. When you make a big investment in something, you want to see a return, and we're seeing that return in clinical outcomes and in our investment, and that's been really nice to see. I chose Keenest Medical for 4 reasons. One is the technology is top notch. You have to have great technology. There's a lot out there that isn't quite up to snuff. The second thing is they have a really good clinical training. They have an exclusive partnership with Academy of Shockwave Excellence so that you can become clinically proficient in shockwave. You do need to get skilled at it. I think that's a big differentiator between practices that are getting great results and seeing the ROI is they have a great clinical aspect to that as well. So you want to get trained appropriately. Third is they have in-house service team for all of your technical support, which is key when you're investing in a machine like this. And then lastly, they have a very in-depth marketing and business support for you so that you can launch this into your practice effectively, that you can get that ROI on it, that you can get the clinical outcomes. And they also have really good financing options if you need that. So go to kinasmedical.com, KINAS medical.com, mention MCM podcast and receive a free shockwave in practice book with a purchase of a unit. So that's kinasmedical.com, KINAS medical.com, and mention MCM podcast. And then let's say someone's been saving money appropriately for 8 years, because you guys have taught them how to put money in a, I don't know, money market account, whatever it is, but it's got some kind of yield to it, and you're saving up money for that quote unquote tax bomb. You could actually use that money, like let's say there's $40,000 in there when you go to buy a house, and show that you obviously wouldn't use that for your down payment, but you say, look, I got $40,000 of liquidity. That's the other thing a bank looks at is, do you have money to back you up, because they wanna make sure that if something happens, you have money to pay your mortgage. So I guess that you could use that tax bomb savings money as liquidity to back yourself up when you try to go get a loan for a home or again a business to buy a practice or start a business. Is that correct?
Yep, you're exactly right. Yep, absolutely. It always looks good to have a chunk of money sitting there to
Yeah.
show the mortgage lenders. Yep, they love
Yeah.
that.
That's like they want it's always funny, right? They always say it's like they only want to loan money to people that already have money. So
Correct. Yeah.
all right, well, that's good news on that front because that's something I know a lot of people are concerned about. Is that if you get on an income
Yeah.
based, you've got you got a certain income level, you and your spouse potentially, and your monthly payment is 500 a month, give or take, whatever it is. You got money saved up for this tax bomb. You might actually be in a pretty good position to get a loan. Obviously, given that your credit score and all the other variables are lined up.
Yeah. And it helps your credit too, actually, when you have a monthly payment that you can afford, and you're making that monthly payment, that also helps your credit and your credit score. So, being on an income driven plan is good that way too.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, people are nervous sometimes to get on these income driven plans, and you can always switch back. You can always switch back to some kind of standard repayment plan. You can always pay off your loan early if you want to. So it helps you in times when you're making less money as
Mhm.
new grads,
Yeah.
but you can always switch out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think one of the things I get a lot of chiropractors that ask me about it, and first thing I usually say is I'm not an expert in it, but what I do talk to them about is the fact that getting the student loans to be a chiropractor was the cost of doing business. Is most entrepreneurs, most people that own a business had to take out some level of debt to do so, sometimes substantial, right? Like if most businesses are taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to start a business and they have that debt to pay down. To be a professional like a chiropractor and other types of doctors and attorneys and stuff, part of that cost of doing business was getting your education, and there is a cost to that. And so I try to tell them, it's like, look, it's just forget about it. Like, do what you got to do, get organized with someone like yourself, get a plan, and then just get it out of your mind. Like don't worry about it. It's there, but it's just like I might run into 10 different successful business people in my practice, and they all have I shouldn't say all. A lot of them have debt. They have business
Yeah.
debt. It's leveraged to grow. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Student loans is a good debt as long as you do your work and you become a intrinsically motivated chiropractor. That's good and builds a practice. It's just consider it part of the business loan. It's not. It's personal debt. It's definitely different. But psychologically, just say, I had to do this. I wouldn't be where I'm at. Not a big deal. I'm going to make my monthly payment, and I'm going to deal with it in 25 years. Not no sweat.
Yeah, that's exactly what we try to do at our company too, is minimize this because
Yeah.
it's a small part of your financial future, and
Yeah.
don't make it everything. Don't put every cent you have towards
Mm.
paying down this debt, unless you can, but most people
Yeah.
can't. And, the more we can kind of minimize it, and it is, you're right, a justifiable debt that will hopefully pay off for you in the
Yeah.
future with a doctorate degree.
No, exactly. If someone said, like, knowing what I know now, 20 years in, would I pay $250,000 back then for what I did? It's like, yeah, I would. I've had a great career. Now I've worked hard, and I know not every chiropractor feels the same, and I get that. But sometimes you have to look at why that is, and maybe seek some help to get your practice a little bit more profitable and be able to feel good about where you're at. And it's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So,
Yeah, that's
any
for sure.
other words of wisdom for our student loan borrowers?
You know what? I think the only thing that will help you keep on top of this is just keeping on top of this. Try, figuring out what's happening with your student loans because, of course, we want you to set it and forget it and pay the loan and don't, think twice about that part of it. But there's so many changes. So you can sign up in our company, Student Loan Planner. We do a free newsletter
Hmm.
every week that tells you kind of all the new happenings. Or you can go to studentaid.gov, which is the government site too, that can keep you updated on the new changes and Yeah, just be educated about it
Mm.
because it is a big amount of debt and you just want to make sure you're on top of it.
No, absolutely. So, well, this has been a pleasure. This has been informative. Good to get some new updates on things, and things will obviously be changing as the weeks and months go by. But how can someone reach out to you all and find out more and set up a call?
So to reach our company, it's studentloanplanner.com. And you can book a consult with us. We have hour-long consults, and basically we go through your whole student loan situation. We have you download all your information from the studentaid.gov website, and we go through each piece of it and tailor it specifically to you. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of free resources on our website too. There's a lot of different calculators that you can plug in your numbers and see if it's a better idea for you to do an income driven plan or a fixed plan. We have some mortgage lenders that we work with on there that are
Mhm.
specific to physicians and chiropractors and that kind of thing. So you can kind of get some quotes through that too if you want to. And we also have some refinance calculators if you're in a position of private loans where you need to or you want to refinance to a lower interest rate. We have some preferred lenders that we work with too. So, yeah, lots of good information there.
Perfect. Well, this has been very informative. I appreciate your time, Kristen, and then it won't be the last time we'll chat.
Good. Thanks, Kevin.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.